As you're listening to this show, you're probably training for a race. But how dialed in is your race nutrition? Precision Fuel and Hydration has a free online planner that you can use to work out how much carbs, sodium and fluid you need to perform at your best. Brady regularly uses their resealable 90-gram gels on his longer runs. Click the link in the show notes to use the planner to personalise your strategy for your next race. Then use the code INSIDE to get 15% off your first order of fuel and electrolytes and help support the show. More details at precisionhydration.com. Now let's get to it.
Being a skin can bring you so much pain. Now I hear you say you got the best of both ways. Won't you come and take a walk in my shoes and tell me if you take my place?
Welcome to episode number 326 of the Inside Running Podcast. Thank you for joining us for another week. Got a big show coming at you this week for a quiet time of the year. AC Track and Field Champs happened. South Australia had some 5Ks. Osaka Women's Marathon, some quick times there to talk about as well. Some quick times indoor in the States as usual. Some drug news. We also got the co-founder and CEO of Precision Fuel and Hydration, Andy Blow, joining us a bit later in the show. And we've got a guest co-host to tell you all about. Welcome to my usual co-host though. He's up in Canberra. Bradley Croker, how are you this week?
Not too bad, Brady. 326 episodes, hey? We must be due for long service leave soon.
Continuous as well, Bradley. Haven't missed a week for 326 weeks. Not the same three people, but an episode has come out for 326 weeks.
Yeah. How you going? I hear you've been on the beers all afternoon and just cracked another one by the sounds of it.
Just enjoying the last couple of days of school holidays here, Bradley. A few social events and, not so much looking forward to going back to school on Thursday. But, yeah, it's good weather to have a beer and I'm looking forward to talking all things running with you over a beer this evening.
Can you confirm that you've had beers this afternoon, you smashed a Barocca, and now you're back on the beers?
Nah, none of those things are true. I'm ready for work. We've got a big co-host, so you cannot be drinking when you've got a big co-host join us here. Let me give you some stats about our co-host this week. She was 8th at the New York Marathon and the winner of the Sydney Morning Herald, Launceston and Hobart half marathons, 13th at the World Championships over 10,000 metres in 2019 and 23rd at the 2021 Olympic Marathon. Due to popular demand, the Australian running public's favourite female distance runner, Ellie Pashley, welcome back to the Inside Running Podcast.
Thanks, Brady. Everyone would have been like, oh, who's it going to be? Who's it going to be? Oh, Ellie again.
No, we got some great feedback last time, and people are like, get her back, have her permanently the guest for every week when Moose isn't here. But we're like, not quite every week, but we'll give you every second or third week to build her hype leading into Osaka.
Yeah. Sure.
Because you're off Strava now, Ellie, I really want to know how the last few weeks have gone.
Oh, yeah, they've been up and down.
Oh.
Yeah.
Croaks did just have a word to you off air because last time you were on, we had to cut about 3 things off before it went public on the Wednesday as well. So just got to keep your coach happy tonight, Ali. Keep the gusto high, but all the controversial stuff, let's just keep a lid on that maybe.
Yeah, I need to think before I speak. I think sometimes I'm just here having a conversation and I forget that there's a lot of people listening, and yeah, I got in trouble from a couple of people after that one, including Julian Spence, so I'll keep a lid on it tonight.
It was a big week editing that week, I reckon, Croaks. That wasn't fun for us. Sent it to Patreon, then we had to pull it for Patreon and then hold off and do this and do that, but we got there in the end.
Worth having you on, even if it does cost us a few hours of editing, Ellie.
Yeah, 100%.
Yeah. About time Zaka did some work.
Oh, that's my job.
Oh, is that your job?
Yeah, that's my job. I've got heaps of work to do. Zaka just puts good-looking stuff on our social media. He does nothing. Tell us about your fitness, Ali. Where you at? You just gone 4 weeks out from Osaka Marathon yesterday. Let's hear about your training week.
Yeah, so I had a couple of really big weeks in a row, and then I was almost in a little bit of a hole, I'll say. You know that mid-marathon block I don't know if this happens to you guys. It has happened to me before where I had a couple of bad sessions in a row, just couldn't hit paces. I just felt a bit cooked, basically. And then I felt like I'd just been training so hard and I'd been going really hard every session, but it was almost like the fitness hadn't quite kicked in yet.
Sorry, Ellie, was this before or after that 10K?
This was just after the 10K, I think. Yeah.
So since we spoke last, in between.
Since we spoke last, yeah. I reckon it was actually that week coming off that, perhaps. And then, yeah, it's kind of the last 2 weeks, I guess I sort of feel like I've come good again. So I think I had to be really conscious of, keeping my easy days a bit easier. And I had a week off heat last week and a slight down week. So I think that helped a little more as well. But yeah, so like training's been going well. I just had, a couple of sessions that I still did almost hit them, but I couldn't quite get the paces that Jules had set. And it was a real battle, mental and physical battle. But anyway, this last week.
Well, before the Monday, what did you have on the Sunday?
Yeah, so that Sunday I had a 34K tempo. So I was in Adelaide actually for the weekend, which was really nice. So I had 38Ks in total, 34K at, 3:34 pace it ended up being. So I actually had Jess jump in with me for the first 11 or 12Ks of that, which was awesome. So I sort of didn't even really realise till after it, but that was very impressive by her. So she's 4 months postpartum and she did 12Ks at 3:34s with me and she seemed comfortable. So yeah, Jess is fit. Bit of lowdown on South Australian athletes.
Good whisper out of South Australia.
Yeah. So yeah, that was good. And then my dad was actually over there watching the Tour Down Under, which was very handy. So he jumped on the bike with me and rode, giving me drinks just because, it was pretty warm in Adelaide, as you can imagine. So yeah, that was a good one. And then I actually had a rest day after that. So the next day we were flying home and Jules gave me a full day off. So no running, no cross training. That was nice. And then Tuesday I just had 14 and a half in the morning, which was meant to be easy, but I ran with Jules over some hills and we sort of ran 4:18. So we kind of got rolling a little bit there. I think I was a bit fresh coming off my rest day and he was just doing his usual thing, half wheeling me on the hills. So that was a good one. And then the afternoon, I just did 45 minutes on the elliptical. Wednesday morning, we had a workout. So Brady was here for this one, actually. You'll hear about his soon. But we went to what we call the Chanel Estate, which is, I think I'd done a workout there last time I was on the show. So it's a mile loop just out of Torquay, dead flat, beautiful roads, all these big mansions. It's a pretty nice loop. So the plan was we were doing 2 laps for each rep, which is just over 3Ks, and progressive. So we got told to start around 3:25s and then cut sort of a couple of seconds each rep. And I think we pretty much did that. So I had Kieran was away, so it was me and Will, and then a few of the other guys jumped in with us and did the first 3. So we went 3:24s, 22s, 20s, 18s, 16s. That felt good actually. This was the Sunday, and then this day I was coming out of my hole that I'd been in. So that was a good confidence booster, although we didn't run anywhere near as fast as Jules and Brady did. But you'll hear about that soon. And then that afternoon I just did elliptical again. So another 45 minutes. Next day was just easy 10Ks in the morning and then elliptical in the afternoon. I think I did 50 minutes in the afternoon. And then Friday I did 17Ks and I was meant to do a 10-minute pickup at the end, but I was juggling. Joe's had to start work a bit earlier than he thought, so I actually did it in the middle of the run. Then I had to go back and get her and take her in the pram for the rest which was hard work. So I did 10 minutes in the middle with Jordan. He was doing a session, so we just kind of ran 3:30s, like on Bendere Road, which is the flat road near my house. And then bit of a pram jog cool down with Tig, 45 on the elliptical again in the afternoon. And then Saturday morning, I just ran in Aries with Liam Coughlin. So he's a guy that I coach. He lives in Melbourne, but he comes down to Aries a lot. So that was nice. And then Sunday, elliptical again in the Arvo. Lots of elliptical doubles this week. And then Sunday we had probably the hardest session I've ever done. So the idea was about 40 Ks, first 30 steady over hills, and then into 3x2K at a bit faster than marathon pace. So he'd said to us about 3:20s, and then 1K at 3:10s, which I argued a bit with Jules on this because I'm like 3:10s is my 5K pace. I think this might be too hard. And he said, no, it's not, amongst other things. And anyway, yeah, the first 30K was pretty tough. The trails were pretty sandy, and I think I averaged about 4:09s. But yeah, it was a fair bit of climbing, and they're sort of nasty hills. It's like lots of steep, sharp, trails. And anyway, I felt shocking for the first 10K, and then I kind of felt all right for the next 10K, which was, it got we were still climbing, but it was a little more gradual. And then we came down for 5 or 6K, then back up. And by the end of the 30K, I was like, this is really hard. Like the whole run already had felt hard. I didn't think I was going to be able to run quick, but Jules kind of gave me an option to make it a little bit easier. And I said, I still want to do the same session we had planned, but I don't know if I'll be able to hit the paces, but we'll see how we go. So we got back to the car, changed shoes, and then, we ran out and back along Forest Road for these reps. So they are a little bit all over the place, depending on, like, it's pretty much flat, but one direction is slightly uphill and one direction is slightly downhill. So the first 2K we went 3:20, then the 1K was 3:11, and then the next 2K says 3:11, but that was kind of where we were downhill and we almost had a bit of a tailwind behind us. And then the next 1K we turned back into the uphill, and that was 3:14. So the 2K and 1K were kind of the wrong way around there. And then we went 2K at 3:18s, and then I finished with a K at 3:09. That was really hard.
And what were the recoveries between those faster reps?
They were either 2 minutes or 90 seconds. So it was meant to be 2 minutes after the 2K, 90 seconds after the 1K, but
is that jog or sort of standing?
No, just a standing recovery. So the recovery was pretty generous. Originally, he'd written 90 seconds, 60 seconds, and then I think we were all kind of beat up after the 30K, so he changed it. I think we got it the wrong way around on one of them, but basically either a minute and a half or 2 minutes.
Impressive speed at the back end of a long run.
Yeah, you got to take a lot of confidence in that.
Yeah, I did. I didn't think I was going to be able to run those paces with how I felt, and I was basically going as hard as I could for all of those reps. But I did. Once I did the first one, I sort of I think I'd felt so bad in the first part of the run that just being able to almost hit the paces, I was like, okay, I felt a little bit better, and I was like, I'm going to keep trying to hit this and I'll just see what happens. And then, so got through it. Will was he finished ahead of me on the last couple, so he's going well. And Jules did really well too. So that was, good to tick that one off. And then Jules said at the end, that'll be the hardest one we do. Thank God. Because I don't, like going to the well every session, I just don't know how many more times I can do that. I feel like all the workouts have been so hard. I'm kind of at my limit there.
Is this different to other blocks in terms of, because I obviously seeing what Julian's doing on Strava, and it seems like every Sunday for the last, I don't know how many weeks, has been like a pretty solid session. Is that sort of what you've been doing in previous preps?
It's similar stuff, but it's just faster. And it's definitely been harder than any other block I've done. And I don't know if I think it's, I haven't really done more mileage. Like, we've been a bit more conservative with mileage just because of that injury I had, but I have been doing the heat and the cross training as well. So I don't know. Yeah, I felt a lot more fatigued overall, but I think also every session has been hard, where I feel like in other blocks, sometimes I've had sessions where they've felt, kind of easy, and the paces have just been always a stretch rather than, go and do your marathon pace intervals at 3:30s or whatever, which I know that I can do, but this is, a significant amount faster, which, So I think mentally it's been hard too, because I go into them being like, oh, this is going to be really hard.
And what's the weather been like down there? Because it is much harder training for a marathon, like in the heat. And so I feel like the fact that you're nailing the sessions, when you go over and it's, 5 degrees or whatever, you're going to feel like amazing, especially with all the heat stuff you've been doing as well.
Yeah, hopefully. It's not really hot down here in summer, but it has been a more humid summer than normal. So even in the mornings, if it's only been sort of, 20, 21 or whatever, I think it has been quite humid. And like you said, like I don't think I've ever done a marathon block down here over summer. I've obviously done the hot one before Tokyo, but I am hoping that then when I get to Japan, it feels really nice when it's 6 degrees instead. But yeah, so that's when I had those couple of bad ones, I did have to sort of remind myself of that, like trying to hit the paces I'm trying to hit, in completely different conditions is not always going to be possible.
Well, that's it. 20 degrees and high humidity where it feels like 24, 25 degrees, that's going to be way harder to hit the paces than if it was 5 degrees or 10 degrees.
Yeah,
so,
yeah,
it's good,
exactly.
Good you factor that in.
With the Sunday, Ellie, being like one of the harder ones, say like a 9 out of 10, what would you put the Wednesday as?
Wednesday was one of the better ones, the easier ones we've done, I reckon. I think it was just the shorter reps, and like even when he told us about that, I knew it was going to be hard at the end, but it didn't seem unachievable. So yeah, if Sunday was 9 out of 10, Wednesday maybe, like it was still hard. Compared across this whole block, that would have probably only been like a 6 or 7 out of 10, where most of them have been 8 or 9, or Sunday was probably 10.
That's probably why Brady smacked the last rep on Wednesday to turn it into an 8 or a 9 out of 10.
Had to do some work, Crooks.
But I can't believe that, like, I cannot believe how fast you ran, because me and Will were pushing on the last one to get it down to kind of 3:15s or whatever it was. And like you guys ran relatively, I feel like you were running a lot faster than what we were, and your progressions were much bigger. So that was impressive, because we were still working really hard and couldn't.
We were like 10k pace for the last 3k on a pretty generous GPS loop. Like it looks better than it was.
You were 10k pace?
Yeah, well, I averaged 301s for the last 3k, which I think is probably more like 303s, 304s on maybe a straight road.
Yeah, I guess that's probably true. We were probably running about 10k pace too, which is quite similar. Yeah.
How many Ks was that, Ellie, for the week?
I think it was about 125.
But a heap of elliptical.
Yeah. I did elliptical every day other than Sunday, I think. So.
And a day off.
Yeah.
A day off, yeah.
You're still in the heat chamber doing those?
Down, and then it'll go back up this week. In the shipping container heat chamber. Yeah. 2 heaters. I had heat. I didn't do heat last week though. Sorry. So because it was a down week, we took heat out and double runs became elliptical. And then this week I'm back on heat, so all my doubles will be runs again. And I'll do them in the shipping container with the heaters. I did one this Savo. I'm only going to do heat this week and next week, and then it's done. So I'm not going to do any for 2 weeks leading into the race.
I think a few weeks ago I asked you how many or what percentage were you to like be ready to go, and I think you said 85. Where's that sitting at now, 4 weeks out?
I feel better now than that. Like it went downhill after that to 70%, maybe less.
Yeah.
But yeah, I feel like I'm maybe up at 95% ready to go. I don't know. I need a few more. I feel like we've done a lot of stuff kind of faster than marathon pace, or the long tempos slower than marathon pace. So I think the next few weeks we're going to do a bit more, well, goal marathon pace, not marathon pace. So we'll do a bit more of that, and I think that'll give me a bit more of a gauge of where I'm at, and yeah, what we'll see.
Yeah, that's good. Rightio, Craigs, match that. Tell us about your week.
No, you do your week. You're the one that's doing the interesting training, got the marathon coming up, so you go.
You do yours, because I just need I'm going to mute myself and move locations. I'm going to need like 90 seconds off the bike for a second, if that's okay.
Yeah, no worries. All right, so, my first run was Tuesday. So we met down at the lake and, did a session of 5 minute, 4 minute, 3 minute, 2 minute, 1 minute, 5 minute, all with like 75-second jog between. So, I normally sort of start these around sort of 60-minute pace or effort, and then try and progress it by generally about 5 seconds a K or so. So I started at 3:22s for the 5 minute rep, then went 3:18s, 3:12 for the 3 minute rep, and then 3:03 for the 2, and then 2:59 for the 1 minute rep. And then back to 3:12 for the 5 minute rep, and the jogs were sort of between 4:15 and 4:30 K pace. So end up averaging like 3:26s for that session. I was really happy with how I felt. I reckon probably the 3 minute rep felt like the hardest, and then the 2 and the 1 was running fast, but they were short enough that you never sort of felt like it was too taxing. And then I felt actually really smooth in the last 5 minute rep compared to the first 5 minute rep anyway. So, that was a pretty good session.
It's a great workout, that one.
Yeah, it is good. It goes to show, though, for me, like I really need to do more sessions where I do some quick stuff in the middle and then go longer again, because like if you asked me to run 3:12s for that first 5 minute rep, I would have been like so lactic and just, like it would have been really, really hard, or it would have felt like an all out effort. Whereas it felt really smooth after having done like, a 3, 2 and a 1. So I find I respond really well to those sort of sessions, particularly in the mornings when I'm probably just not as warmed up as I should be at the start of the sessions. And then, Wednesday, got out for 90 minutes, 4:13s, just out at Mulligan's. Thursday, was that just a loop around Mulligan's again, 4:22s. And then Friday morning, Australia Day, we met out at the Arboretum, which is actually where they hold the Australian of the Year awards. I don't know if anybody saw the view overlooking it. It's a really nice place, actually. It's pretty close to Stromlo. So we met there. It was really, like, we had over 20 people, which was, I think, a group record for the session. And then it was so humid. I think it was, it was 20 degrees at 7 a.m. and like the humidity was like 80% already. So even just warming up, we just had like sweat dripping off us. And I had a 30-minute tempo. A few of the others who are starting to get ready for Canberra Marathon had like 2 by 20 minutes over the rolling hills at sort of, marathon effort, maybe a bit easier. And so this was pretty tough, like especially the back end of it. So I averaged 3:32s for 30 minutes. It would have had, I don't know, 100 and so it was just under 8.5K, 140 meters of elevation. Like compared to the Tuesday session where I ran significantly faster and felt a lot easier, this was hard. But it's one of those sessions where, it never looks good on Strava, but you're definitely working when you're doing a 30-minute tempo over hills. So I was glad to just get through that one.
What pace did you run on that loop last time?
So pretty much the same. Maybe 3:31s, but it was a slightly different session. It was fartlek last time, so it was 2 minute 15 on 75-second sort of solid jog, whereas this time it was just 30 minutes straight. But I think the weather played a factor here. Like I'm definitely fitter than I was when I did the last session, but I think the heat and humidity probably. I reckon I probably would run 5 seconds a K faster if the conditions were the same. But anyway, that was good. And then Saturday, just 40 minutes out at Mulligan's again, 4:20s. And then Sunday, met up with Zach, Rob and Ryan for 2 hours. And yeah, the week before, like it was hot and I ran way too hard. Like it felt, the last 20 minutes of the previous week's Sunday run was just, I was looking forward to it being like finished. And so I said to everybody, look, we just need to chill a little bit more on these long runs. The weather was way better. It was like the first morning where the air was crisp, you could breathe. So I did, 28K, 4:16s. Definitely felt way more controlled. Like I didn't have any gels or anything on that run. Another week of a 101K. The only other thing I had to add for that week was after Tuesday's session, I went and saw my physio, not because I was injured, but just I thought I'm in two minds about joining up to the gym again, because I feel like as I'm getting older, like I don't think I can get much more like aerobically strong because of just how much running I'm doing, but I feel like I am starting to like lack a little bit of like power when I run and strength, just from aging. So I just wanted to go and see him to see, where he thought I was maybe a bit deficient. Gave me some exercises, and then I might sort of progress that to some gym work. But he was pretty happy with actually like how all my sort of like hip stability and glute stuff was. So so I did that during the week, which was good. Almost like I was with him for nearly 2 hours. Very, very generous with his time.
Physio for 2 hours.
Yeah.
He mustn't be very busy.
2 hours.
No, I don't think he had an appointment after mine. So, it was luckily I didn't have an appointment to go to because I was expecting to be there for an hour max. And then it's just, he's like still just into my back. And then we go and spend like 20 minutes doing some exercises but great value for money.
So what sort of exercises did he give you?
The one like, the squat off a step, some, like split squat type stuff. Some actually like jump and landing. I've never done any of that sort of stuff. Like trying to land really softly and like obviously keep your knee and your hip and everything all pretty like, stationary.
Off a box, like jump up onto the box
or a step or whatever. Yeah, and then just some single-legged stuff like single leg bridges and all that sort of stuff. But like I think if I get the all clear to sort of ramp up my training a little bit when I go to Melbourne, I might jump back in the gym and just do some more strength stuff.
I love that you slowed down that long run. Your heart rate average was still 152 though.
That was wrist.
There?
That was wrist because I was driving out, had my heart rate strap on, and because the only way I can run for 2 hours with a heart rate strap is by putting some like body glide on.
Yeah.
And I did have the body glide in the car for quite a while, but then on the hot days it would just like melt. So I've had it in the garage, but then I forgot to put it in the car when I left. I'm like, well, there's no way I'm doing 2 hours with the heart rate strap on. So that was just wrist heart rate. But it was definitely way more controlled than the week before. Yeah.
Very good. It's getting fit. I'll whistle through this week. Let me tell you about Monday. 13K easy at 4:44s. Ran with a guy, Brad White. He was holidaying up here, so I coached Brad, so it was good to see him in person, and he's a big Geelong Cats fan, so we had a bit of footy talk on that jog, which was nice. 7K in the afternoon. Been watching Beef on Netflix. Anyone watch that?
No. Is that good?
I didn't think it was going to be good, but it is good. Like I thought, this is real trashy, but it will pass the time well on the treadmill, but now I'm really, really enjoying it. I'm looking forward to watching episodes. It got 98% on Rotten Tomatoes, so it's it's worth watching. I'll recommend it. Different, but check it out. Tuesday, 18K at 4:37s in the morning, listening to a road to Osaka. So that's always good. Tara Palm was really good on that, I thought, last week. So Miss Moose, but it's good to hear his voice every Tuesday morning on my easy jog. And then I drove to Bendere, met up with my mate Crammers, and then we went to Grovedale, Geelong, to stay with his brother Ryan Cranberry. We did 30 minutes easy when we got there, 4:47 pace, just a little track along the creek there. And then Wednesday, this was the workout Ellie was talking about, 5x2 laps of the Surf Coast Industrial Estate Croaks. Beautiful. Should see how nice this place is. $2 million houses everywhere, beautiful road surface, easy like turns, like they're not too tight. You can kind of like, especially the top bend, you can kind of get around the turns without slowing down too much. Very, very nice estate to be running around.
Hey, Ellie, before you go into the session, Brady, how excited was he? I reckon he'd be like a kid in a candy store having someone to train with. and been down there with you?
Pretty relaxed, wasn't it, Ellie?
I reckon, I actually thought you were quite relaxed. I reckon Jules was excited. He has done a lot, although I heard that they were bickering the whole way around their
I'll tell you about that.
Yeah.
Well,
he has done a lot solo too, so I think he was happy to have a buddy.
Well, the first bickering started, Craigs, when they all got lost in the warm-up and no one knew which way to go. And we did 6K warm-ups because they were all arguing with each other. And you're like, did you guys live here?
That was Julian. So you know how we were running and I turned right? He was like, we're not going that way. That's too long. That's 5Ks or something. And then I was like, righto, well, do you know where you're going? And then he took us. It ended up being 6.5, didn't it? So
long warm-up. Not used to
6.5K
warm-ups.
Doesn't sound like Julian.
And then he's got this thing.
I actually don't mind a long warm-up, though. I don't know about you guys, but now that I'm old, I feel like it takes me, like you were saying earlier, Brad, with your track stuff, I reckon it takes me 6Ks to get going anyway.
It was hot, though. It was like 20 degrees. And the sun was coming up quick, so I was like, I don't know if we should be going for this long. But once the sun come up, the clouds come over. Windy day, Brad, windy day. And then, so Moose has got this thing where he doesn't tell anyone the workout, which I just thought he was being cagey in our message group beforehand. But when I got there and got out of the car, these Geelong guys are like, do you know the workout? What are we doing? Kind of trying to get goss out of me. And I'm like, I don't know what we're doing. But I heard it was 3K 3K reps. So then he explains the session. And in our message group the night before, he told us starting at 3:18. Can you remember that?
Yeah.
Yeah, so it turns out that changed, but I didn't get told about that. So 2 laps around this circuit, which was I think it was 3.1K, maybe a bit further. We went the opposite way to Ali's group. So we were running at each other both times, and then we swapped direction every rep. So things were getting confusing. So me and Moose did the first one at 3:18, which I thought was right. And then, another thing, Crooks, when you're training with someone, just one other person, do you run side by side or behind each other? Or one in front of the other?
I'd say, no, generally side by side.
Yeah, see, Archie and I are very much like someone takes responsibility for the rep and the other person sits in, and then you swap it. Just so you're not half-stepping.
Yeah, we run side by side unless it's windy. Like that morning, we took in turns of leading.
Yeah. So I said to Moose, I'm like, I'm happy to sit behind you. You lead the first one, and then I'll take the second one. And then about 500 metres in, he's like, nah, this feels weird. Come up next to me. So I'm like, okay. So we did the first one, 3:18. And then the second one, I must have taken the lead for a bit. And he's yelling at me, saying it's too quick. And we're running 3:14 pace. And I'm like, aren't we meant to be running 3:15? And he's like, nah, the first one was meant to be 3:21. And then this one's 3:18. And I'm just like, I missed that memo. Sorry. But we still ran 3:15 for the second one. Third one was 3:10. Fourth one was 3:06. And we had Lockie Doak on the bike, Croaks. It's so good down there. You got people on the bike. You got AFL footballers standing in front of their driveway watching you train. You got people with selfie sticks riding around, filming people. And I'm just like, this is unbelievable. I just see one farmer and some wild dogs when I do workouts up here in Chukamoama.
But Ellie Pashley's part of that group.
I know.
Right?
Yeah, that's why. I'm like, this is makes it so much easier.
This marathon block has been crazy. Because half of our group of school teachers, they're all on holidays. We have had bikes and everyone else jumping in to help out every week. It's been pretty awesome.
Yeah,
we don't normally have camera drink.
Yeah, it was. I felt like I was in a flow track video, Croaks. So I was getting a bit excited. Lockie Doak takes the wind on the second last rep, so rep 4, and Moose just jumped off. He just dropped off a tiny bit, and I said to Lockie, because I was on the wheel, I'm like, hey, just slow down a bit. We can lose a bit of time here. Let's keep the group together.
Wait for our slow ass friend.
Yeah, we're all trained together. You don't need to win a workout. Look after ourselves here. And then we were extending the recovery. So the first gap we had 90 seconds, and then I think we went 2 minutes, and then between the fourth and the fifth we went 2 minutes 15. And I was my heart rate dropped to 122 in between rep 4 and 5. I felt really good. And then in the last one, Lockie took the wind again. We did the first lap together, and then Moose dropped off a bit into the headwind, and then I just switched things off and just finished the lap. So there'll be two sides to that story, but that's my side of the story. Felt very in control at the end there. Moose will say I leathered myself and was all out. I think my heart rate got to 172. A bit of mail with the GPS.
He was just annoyed because you dropped him.
Yeah. It's interesting with the GPS, Brady, because you do run in different directions for each rep. I reckon the reps where the watch is on the outside,
which was the last rep,
would measure long, which would also say you're running faster than the reps where you're running with the watch on the inside.
I actually haven't looked at that. So 1,
Yeah,
3 and 5, are they longer? Have you got it open?
Yeah, it is. So like 3.15 versus like 3.12. So about 30 metres.
Yeah, so that would be it.
Yeah.
And that, yeah, and so it was about 20k wind, like it was pretty actually windy, so you actually felt it when you were going into it, and then you felt amazing when you had it by your back. So good workout, had so much fun, so good to have company, really enjoyed that. Yeah, and like we give them some shit on this show, Croaks, the Surf Coast Track Club, but they're actually pretty good people down there, so yeah, thoroughly enjoyed it. Did a jog in the afternoon, had a couple of beers with a mate. That's also why I was down there for, to catch up with a mate I hadn't seen for about a year, so that was good. Thursday, got out for 40 minutes at 4:57s at Point Addis. Pretty technical through their alley, some little tracks and some rock jumping and some beautiful views as well.
It's nice in there. We actually we took you around there that other time when you came into the long run.
Yeah, we went from the other direction, I reckon, didn't we? But that was
from
nice.
Torquay maybe.
Yeah, so it was good. And then drove back to Echuca, so I didn't run in the afternoon. Friday, did 20k in the morning at 4:37s, and then 8k on the treadmill. Saturday, 16k in the morning, 7k in the treadmill. Just put on my notes on Strava, that New Balance Super Comp Trainer 2. I reckon it's the best treadmill shoe getting around, because it's got the carbon plate in it for a jogging shoe. And it's just, the way it hits the treadmill. You jogged in it on the treadmill, Ellie?
Which one?
Is it Super Comp Trainer 2?
Oh, the Supercomp Trainer. Yeah. Yeah, I have.
Very good on the treadmill. Thanks to the running company Geelong for hooking me up with that shoe. And then Sunday.
Yeah. I liked the one better, I think.
Never tried the one, so I've only got an opinion on the 2.
Yeah. The 2's a bit narrower. My feet are a bit wide for it, I think. I just probably need to get a bigger size. But yeah, it's like a fast, easy run too, isn't it?
Yeah. It feels super good. Super squishy under there. And then Sunday, 32k tempo, working on that like 95% goal marathon pace. Had a listener, Chris McTaggart, who's been a long time listener. He comes to Moama, I reckon, once a year. I've jogged with him before. Croaks, can you remember years ago, I reckon I spoke about the listener who had a tattoo for every marathon he did? Do you remember that?
Vaguely. Yeah, vaguely remember.
So he was on the bike this time. So he did a great job handing me the drinks. A couple of times when it was a bit windy, jumped on his back wheel, keeping me company, telling me some stories. Yeah, same thing again. I was spoilt this week with people on bikes and training partners. So kind of did a lap of Echuca, and then we went out to Moama, out and back out there. So yeah, it was good. Average 324, heart rate average 159. Didn't feel...
that's low.
Yeah, felt really good aerobically, but kind of doing these workouts for to smash the legs up and just get bored. This is the least favourite one. I would much prefer to do what you did, Ali, the long run into the workout, than just lock into this pace and hold it for nearly 2 hours.
Oh, really? See, I like these ones.
Do you? Yeah, I don't.
Yeah. I didn't like the first one we did. I found that quite hard. I think normally when I've done them in the past, I've done them slightly slower. But this, I actually like that rhythm. I often find the first part of it harder. And then once I get into the rhythm, the last 15K or so, it's good. Was that your plan to run that pace? Or
I did 30k about 2 or 3 weeks ago at 3:25s, and I was kind of said to him 95% is pretty much as slow as 3:27, 3:28s. So I was always there was a couple in there where we're 3:29s, 3:28s, didn't have to worry. Then we had a bit of a tailwind for probably 6 or 7k, pretty straight road, and there were some 3:20s and 22s and stuff like that. So, but then when we hit the headwind, probably the last 6 or 7k, there was a lot more closer to 3:25. But then it just means you don't have to panic.
That's pretty good if you can run over 95%. Because when I give this to people, I often give 90 to 95, because sometimes I worry that 95 is almost getting a bit too close to the fire. But you obviously felt good if you could run that.
Yeah, it felt all right. Probably more so just the gut training of it as well. I probably went a bit aggressive again with the 90 grams in the first 21Ks. And then I just been struggling. I might ask Andy when we get him on, struggling for that kind of second hour when it feels like I've already taken on the first hour. I feel like I can nail it early, and then I think I'm going to have to go to drink mix more. I just had the electrolyte drink in my drink bottles. And I tried a bit of Red Bull after Tommy last week which was
how was that?
Yeah, it was good. I reckon I had something about 29k, so it was only a few k to go, but it was good mentally to kind of chuck something different in. But yeah,
it's good to if you're practicing with the 90 grams. So like it's sometimes good to do that, and then you can drop it back a bit for the race if you need to, and it might sit a lot better.
Yeah, or I'm thinking like still take the 90 grams, but instead of trying to get it down over the first 21 Ks, put it out to like 27, 28 Ks, and then pick up 3 or 4 drinks with carb mix in it. So you don't
so then you're not doing you're not doing 90 grams an hour, you're doing 90 grams.
You still might be doing 90 grams an hour, but you might only get 70 of those grams from, I'm talking like an hour and 10, hour and 9, half marathon. So it might be 85 grams an hour, but you might get 70 of it from the gel and then the other bit from the drink mix.
Yeah.
Just to mix it up
90's pretty high.
Yeah.
Like, I get about 70 something an hour in.
Yeah.
And I wouldn't weigh much less than you.
Yeah. No, I think I'll just dial. Yeah, it's not bad to push the limits a bit in training and go from there.
I was trying to do that as well. I was trying to go higher end to see what I could tolerate. And I sort of found what was too much. So then I've kind of gone back to what I was doing.
Yeah.
It's tricky. Like you want to train your gut, but you also, some of those big key sessions, you don't want to stuff them up by giving yourself gut issues.
Yeah.
So it's like finding that you almost have to, just creep it up and, I don't know.
Yeah, and confidence, like you finish that going, cool, 32k done, like didn't feel like you're popping at all, like gun to a head, probably could have gone another 10k at that pace and ran 222, 223 for the marathon, whatever that works out to be, maybe a bit slower, 224.
It's 223.30.
Yeah, is it? Yeah, you've done the numbers on that?
I've been studying.
Yeah, so
224.
Good week, 169k. I got a bit of runner's knee though. Like I haven't had runner's knee for ages, but just in the cool down after I changed my shoes, I was just like rubbing my knee and I'm like, oh, that's tender. And then I'm like, oh, I've got to get on the foam roller, smash some anti-inflams. Just ran once today. Just got to get on top of it early on.
Did it pull up sore today?
It was sore this morning. And you know when you're like going down, up and down steps and stuff, like feels like it just stretches like over your kneecap there. But even the afternoon, like I just walked one of the kids in the pram and I couldn't feel it at all. So
that's good.
I was pretty aggressive with the ice and the anti-inflams and it's all in your quads, isn't it? You got to loosen up the quads. Don't you get the pain in the knee, but it's all in the quads?
Yeah, it can be. Yeah, but trying to get on top of it now is a good idea. A couple of easy days.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking. There's too much to lose, not enough to gain by flogging some easy days at this time of the build-up.
Nah.
Let's say some Patreon supporters, Croaks.
All right, I've got Luke Johnston this week. Unfortunately, Strava was locked down, but did a bit of searching, and I think he might be from Perth and has won the Burwood Peninsula Park Run on a couple of occasions with a best time of 17:11. Possibly studied a Bachelor of Commerce at Curtin University and is a contract advisor at Roy Hill, which is a world-class iron ore mining operation. So thanks for your support, Luke, and hopefully those all that information's correct.
Yeah, smart guy. Another one. Who you got, Ellie?
I've got, I think, am I blue?
Yeah.
You are.
Yeah. I've got Sebastian Kent, otherwise known as Seb. So he's a Geelong guy, lives in Belmont. 10K PB of 35:25 from the River Run in 2022. I reckon he might have run faster than that, but not sure. 82 minutes.
Yeah.
At the 2021 Melbourne Half and 2:57 at the 2019 Melbourne Marathon after missing the start by 15 minutes.
Oh.
I don't know if I've heard that story. So Seb, he runs with us sometimes. I haven't seen him for a while, actually. I think he commutes to Melbourne, so he's got a pretty busy job and he's got a little girl as well. But he used to play footy for Anglesey. I don't know if he played with Jules. He played with Jose when we used to play footy and netball there years ago. So, yeah, he's a good guy.
Yeah, Strava said that, the race plan went out the window when he missed the start by 15 minutes.
That's like my worst nightmare. I actually have dreams about that.
Every race I have a nightmare about that.
Oh.
Not good.
I'll have to ask him.
I want to thank Sam Gibson. He's a Run to PB athlete coached by Andy Buchanan. best 5K time of 16:27 at the Albert Park Run, 34:08 at the 2023 Run Melbourne 10K, 77 minutes at the 2022 Run Melbourne Half Marathon, and took 12 minutes off his marathon PB when he went from 2:49 down to 2:37 at last year's Melbourne Marathon. He's a tradie as well, Zaka was telling me. Yeah, we pulled up his sign-up sheet today from Run to PB, actually, and Andy's done a good job with this guy. So, good work, Andy. Good work, Sam. Thank you to all our Patreon supporters for support of the Inside Running Podcast. If you like what we do, patreon.com/Inside Running Podcast. Podcast free to listen to, not free to make. So, thanks to the people who support us over there on Patreon and keep us alive each and every week. Okay, this week on the Inside Running Podcast, we have a very special question and answer with Andy Blow, who is Precision Fuel and Hydration co-founder and CEO, also a sports scientist with a degree in sports and exercise science from the University of Bath, and an expert in sweat, dehydration and cramping. Andy, welcome to the Inside Running Podcast.
Good to be on here, fellas. Thank you for the invite.
Yeah, join us all the way from the UK, your morning, our evening. So we might be a bit more peppy than you are at the moment. I think you're having a morning coffee, we're having a couple of beers. Firstly, a massive thanks for partnering with the podcast the last few weeks. Croaks and I have been testing the product thoroughly, I'd say, over the last 5 or 6 weeks. So that's a partnership we're really thankful of, and you must be kind of stoked with how Precision Fuel and Hydration's, I guess, evolved and come on over the last kind of 2 or 3 years.
Yeah, definitely. It's the thing people have been saying to me in the last 18 months, 2 years is suddenly the brand's everywhere. They're hearing about it all the time. They're seeing it, and I think it's like one of those stories when someone suddenly comes through and runs a great marathon or something like that. We've been hammering away at this for 12 years now, so we've been putting the miles in, and it feels like we're just coming into a bit of form. We've earned our stripes, so it's a nice feeling. And Australia's been fantastic for us. We've always had a bit of a foothold down there, just because of because we started with hydration and the temperatures you guys often have to train with, especially in the summer, and the humidity made it suitable for that. But yeah, it's a really, it's been a fantastic place for us to do some business, and we love coming out there as well to kind of get involved. We've got a warehouse on the Gold Coast, and great market for us.
Yeah, because initially, was it just hydration to start off with? When I first heard about it, I swear there weren't gels and stuff, but over the last couple of years, especially with the a 2-part question, your concentration of gels, how they were heavier in carbs, was probably the first time it came onto my radar that I'm this is 30. Whereas everything else was kind of 23 to 25, and it's just one less gel you kind of got to carry throughout a race in a way.
Yeah, so we started out with hydration because that was the problems I had as an athlete, basically. I was living in the UK, wasn't exposed to hot temperatures all that much, and I would race pretty well in the cold. And then I would go into the heat and humidity and fall apart in really long races. It took years to figure out. It was about salt loss for me, because I lose a lot of sweat, I lose a lot of electrolytes. If I went to race in Oz, or I raced in Thailand, I raced in Hawaii at the Ironman, and just fell apart. And once I learned, though, to get the right amount of salts, the right amount of fluids back in, it was a game changer. And so that's what led to the development of the business. And we stuck to hydration for years, because we became really focused on that. We wanted to grow the business slowly and organically, and you can't invest in tons of product lines when you do it like that. But what it was 2 things came together which got us into the fueling space. One was customers for years had been saying to us, what do I have with these hydration products? What fueling do I need? So we were often recommending gels that were made by people who are effectively competitors of ours. So it was kind of on our radar that we had to do something about that. And then COVID hit, and we had to stop getting on airplanes and going around the world distracting ourselves with trips to do X, Y, and Z, and actually knuckle down and get in the kitchen and make a gel. And we did it, and like you've said, loads of people I think have found us through that, because quite a few people need a hydration product, but pretty much everyone who does an endurance sport needs a gel or a chew or a carb product. So it's kind of opened up our addressable market, and people are now coming in and finding us through the fuel, which is fantastic.
Hey, on the we tried to have this conversation last week when we were talking about some of the product, but how do you best describe the flavouring of the gel? We did a terrible job of it because we're like, it's kind of like natural and it's like it's sweet, but not too sweet.
But it doesn't really have like a flavour as such.
Yeah, and that's exactly it. So the story there, I'll tell you the simple story is Mel, who is in our athlete support department, but Mel is like an extreme baker and cook. And when we were making the gel, we knew what we wanted it. We knew what the characteristics of it were we wanted, and so we kind of described it to Mel. And we're like, can we make something like that with you? And she's like, yeah. So we went through these iterations. We made this, and we said we'll start with like the base gel, and then we'll start adding flavors. So she makes a bunch of gel, and we're getting happy with the consistency. So we start adding flavors, and then in the lineup for taste testing, she's got all of the flavors and just like the base gel. And so we try the base gel and all the flavors, and everyone's like, someone was brave enough to say, I actually prefer just the gel on its own with no flavor in it. And everyone's like, well, that's easy then. We don't have to put any flavor in it. And that's how it was, because it's a bit like with our drink. The drinks that we make do have a very mild flavor, but my MO for making them was always like, I've got to be able to drink liters and liters of this in a hot, humid environment from a crappy plastic water bottle that's too warm. And it's got to be so neutral, because when things get warm, like the flavors just get out of kilter. And you guys know what it's like on a 4-hour run. You don't need something which is like a pungent or a really sweet flavor. You just want something you can smash loads and loads of it. So I think it's just neutral, natural, unflavored. I get people swear blind. They can taste honey in it, banana, figs, all sorts of stuff, but that's purely in the head. It's like there is no flavor in the gel.
Yeah, okay. And will you design like a nut? Like, will there be a flavor to complement it, like in the future?
We've definitely toyed with that. So again, it's that sort of story for us around like steady growth. Loads of gel companies come out and they bring like 6 flavors out, and I know that will mean that there's 4 of them that don't sell very well and 2 that do. But you make your whole supply chain more inefficient. You're always stocking out the flavors that everyone wants, and you're putting money into flavors that people don't want. And we're not necessarily like an operationally led business, but we try and take those things into consideration, because we'd rather like get this gel right, get it out there, get people on board with it. The most important thing about a gel, in my opinion, is it's the right consistency and it's got the right amount of carbs in it. It's a functional product. This is not something that is going to win a culinary award. You just got to get it right. So what we have done with our chew product, which goes on, so we've got like an original chew which has no flavor, because we followed the same concept there, but then we've done one which has got mint and lemon, and that's gone down a storm. So there is a sort of feeling that we might look at, where we've even talked about mint gel or something that's a little bit different but complementary to it. And I think in time, I would not say never, but it's not in the immediate horizon. We've got other things to work on for the time being.
Yeah. Croaks, I haven't told you this story, but our other co-host, Andy, we did a workout together on Wednesday, and then he pulled out his bag of the chews, and about 5 or 6 people all having a go out of the bag, and it was like, they reckon it was like Turkish delight texture, and they're all like, I've tried heaps of these other ones and they've been shit, but like this product actually, you could swallow it kind of thing. Like it was, they were raving about it. So that was
That's a good comparison, Brady. Yeah, I can get that sort of texture. Yeah. Yep.
So it was good. Andy, is there like, probably hard to be like picking your favourite kid, but is there one line in the product that's like one of your favourite, like something you're really proud of that you've come out with?
The gel is definitely, we're really happy with the gel. I've got to say, like it's we always said if we put a new product into the market, it's got to be the thing that I would pick over everything else to put in my pockets when I go for a run or a ride. And the gel, we're there with the gel. That's hands down is what we've got. I think though the product that surprised me most was we made a drink mix which has got quite a lot of electrolytes, thousands milligrams of sodium a litre and 60 grams of carbs a litre. It's just called carbon electrolyte mix. And that one, I've typically not been a fan of like these blended products in the past where it's all in one bottle. I think there's only certain times when you can use them effectively. But since I've changed my training the last few years, when a lot of my training sessions are shorter and I just want something in a bottle, that's become my favourite. And I really like the flavour. It's like, I think we've got it spot on. There's a very slight amount of saltiness with it, like really subtle, and it's not too sweet. So that's probably my favourite one.
Yeah. Just on like a selfish question for me, because I'm always talking about the 90-gram gel. Who come up with that idea, like the concept of trying to get that many grams into a gel that you can still carry, like it's not ridiculously big?
Yeah, I think that was a combination of looking at reusable packaging, and then the guys were looking at, with our supplier, they were looking at baby food pouches and those kind of things. And then the idea came together. It's like, why don't we just fill one of these with gel? Let's do a big gel. Because at the moment, there's been this kind of, since I've been involved in sports science, which is probably since the late 1990s, like carbohydrates were very in fashion then. It was like athletes should eat carbs. And then we went through this massive phase of moving towards fat adaptation, keto diets and all this kind of stuff. And then obviously carbs have come back into the mainstream. And it seemed like the right time because people want to carry more carbs. People are trying to increase what they take an hour. That it seemed like the right time to give people an option, because we were just like, well, why would I want to take 3 gels out for an hour? Like I did a race, I did a trail half marathon the other week, and all I did was I put one of the 90-gram gel pouches in this. I've got like running shorts with a side mesh pocket, on the thigh. Whacked one of those in there with a bite valve on it, so I don't have to take the lid off. And then it's the perfect solution, because I probably don't eat it all in a half marathon, but I just want a few sips on that. It's so easy. You don't even have to worry about tearing the top off or trying to squeeze the gel out. You just go. It's really efficient.
Yeah, super convenient. Like it's just, you get so much from such a little pouch. Hey, we've got some listener questions here. We got a few listeners have sent ones in, and I reckon some of them will probably touch on that science and stuff as well. So the first one here comes from Sheedon. Can gels save you after hitting the wall, or is it all like, do you need to be proactive in trying to fuel before actually hitting the wall?
I reckon, I had to think about that one, because I reckon it depends on the context. In an ultra, they can. If you blow, you've got time to slow down. It's not ideal, but you can slow down. You can take calories on, and you can kind of dig yourself out of a hole. If your stomach is still okay and you can still absorb stuff, you can get yourself moving again. I think anyone who's done an ultra will have had that experience at some point where you were kind of at death's door, and then what you eat and drink can bring you back. In a marathon, that kind of thing, I'd say unlikely, because a gel is going to take 10, 15 minutes to really get into your system. All that time you're slowing down, you're feeling like crap. You certainly your kind of goal time is slipping away at that point, I would say. So getting in front of it is clearly always better. But if you do recognise that it's sort of low blood sugar and running out of fuel that's hitting you, then clearly getting onto the gels or the drink, or even just the classic, flat Coke or something like that to get your sugar levels up again. You just got to accept it's going to take a bit of time
to kick in. Yep. And there was a lot of questions around like people want to know their number, which is really good with the calculator, like the planner on the website, which we spoke about last week. We'll put in the show notes again. But like, is there a general rule? And I know it's hard when we're talking about individuals, but has the science changed recently where people are trying to have or get recommended more carbs per hour that they're trying to hit than maybe 5 or 10 years ago?
Yeah, for ultras, definitely. We're seeing people smashing well over 100 grams an hour. If they're moving fast in ultras, we've got guys hitting 120 grams an hour. I mean, and to be clear, that's not everyone. This is people that are at the very, very pointy end of very long races, and they train to do that. And it's not universal. We're working with a couple of athletes that are sponsored by Nike over in America. They're right at the front end of Western States and all these big races. One of them is doing well over 100 grams now. The other one's still ticking along at like 70 or 80 at the moment and doing really well. So it's not universal, but like more carbs per hour, the faster you're going, the longer you're going, is dead true. Marathon, which I guess is what you guys are interested in at the moment, and which is a big popular thing, is sort of, I reckon for sure the recommendations are higher than they used to be. But I think that you're in a game of diminishing returns, trying to take more and more and more. if you said to me, Andy, what would you rather stand on a marathon start line, like fully carb loaded and fueled from the days before, but no, you're not going to be able to eat anything, or go into it like a little bit under prepped but have loads of gels on the course? I'd take the former over the latter every time. Like I think marathon nutrition has a huge component of turning up on the start line optimally fueled, optimally hydrated, because we know that back in the old school days, Ron Hill was running 2.9 or whatever it was on zero intake. So and to be clear, I'm not advocating that zero intake is good or anything like it, but if you're fit enough and carb loaded enough, you can do a marathon with very little. I would say for marathon, the sort of if you want to, I don't like generic recommendations, but something in the region of 60 grams an hour is going to suit a lot of people. And I think you'd adjust that upwards if you're a bit bigger and faster, and if you're or not just bigger and faster, but faster. If you are smaller, and certainly if you're running a bit slower, you might adjust that down a little bit. But you know, a couple of gels an hour for the marathon is a sensible place for most people to start.
Yep. What about a lot of our listeners? Brad and I are kind of lucky that when we go to races, we have access to the like the elite or sub-elite drink tables and stuff, but a lot of our listeners don't have that. So Lionel has a question like, without access to bottles on a marathon course, what's a good hydration strategy when I'm in the marathon?
Yeah, we get asked this one a lot. I would say it depends massively on your sweat rate and the temperature, because, you know, let's take like you guys doing Osaka, aren't you? Which I think is going to be single digit Celsius.
Yeah, like
you know,
5 or 10
should
degrees.
Be optimal. Yeah, be optimal running. Like, you're not going to need a lot of fluid in that, I'd imagine, unless you're planning to get most of your carbs through fluid, which is a different conversation. But even then, you're going to make your carb drinks more concentrated because you don't want to drink the high volume. And in which case, I'd be saying to people, look, just carry some gels with you, however many you need, because at the end of the day, if you're out there for 3 hours, you might need 6 gels, you know, or two of our 90 gram gels, something like that, and then pick up water from the tables,
course,
you know, just drink that as you need it, or even a splash of sports drink or whatever. But if you started hydrated and you're running in cold or cool conditions and you're not an epic sweater, then hydration in the marathon is, you want to have a plan, but you don't need to, you're not going to need to be smashing litres and litres of fluid. That's a completely different story if you're running in, you know, like at the Tokyo, we saw at the Tokyo Olympics, you know, summer marathon, it's like, I don't know what the temperature was, but it was hot and humid. And Malcolm Hicks, we've actually got a case study in our case study database on the website. Malcolm Hicks drank 1.1 litres per hour in that race. Now, he will have had access to, he ran 2:23, so he's an elite guy, but he will have had access to tables to get those drinks. But if someone needed to drink that much, if someone was going to do a Honolulu marathon or something, and it's going to be super hot, I would be saying to them, think about the trade-off here about whether you carry a bottle belt or a Camelback or something. Yeah, you're carrying extra weight, but you get to the point where actually, is that more beneficial because you're not having to fight your way through the drink stations, and you're not rushing it, because you know what gulping down out of cups or bottles is like. You get a load of air, it can give you a bad stomach. I would say sometimes you're better off taking the penalty of carrying a kilo of fluid and then, you know, augmenting that with a little bit that you pick up or something. So it's a trade-off really. Marathon is the tipping point as well. Ultras, it's almost always worth carrying your own fluids. Half marathon, I would say it's virtually never worth carrying your own fluids. Marathon is that grey area bit where it's all right. If it's hot and humid, think about sorting yourself out.
Yeah. And Andy, how much does weight affect how much fuel you need, both from obviously fluids, but also like, you know, grams per hour?
I would say probably not as much as you think it would, but it does a bit. The science has been done mostly on people who weigh, like guys that weigh 65 to 80 kilos. So there's a lot of data on that sort of thing. There's not a lot of data on people that weigh 120 kilos or 45 kilos. And you've got to think that, apart from anything else, just simple common sense tells you that someone who's 100 kilos running a marathon is going to burn more fuel than someone who's 45. The difference being that the 100 kilo person is going to have more glycogen on board and everything because they're bigger and they've got more muscle mass. So we generally recommend that if you take that 60 gram an hour recommendation, you would definitely scale it up for someone who's significantly bigger, unless they're moving really, really slowly. And you would scale it maybe down a little bit for someone who's smaller. And it's that doesn't sound too exact, but I think it's just because there's such inter-individual difference, and the intensity that you're running at makes such a difference. Because obviously, the slower you're running, the more you can burn a bit of fat, the more you're going to preserve your glycogen. So, yeah, you got to play those things. But in general, the people who are going to have to fuel the most aggressively in a marathon are the biggest, the guys who are big and very fit, so they can hold a high intensity.
Yeah.
Is there any? I always struggle with this. I'm like, how much to hydrate before a race, and that battle between, you don't want to have to go to the toilet when you're 10K into a marathon, but at the same time you want to kind of get some hydration happening so you can, especially we have the Gold Coast Marathon here. It's one of the popular ones, and for where we live down in the southern states, it's often a lot warmer than what we're used to. So you're always thinking more about the hydration when you go up and race at the Gold Coast. But yeah, any tips or any science around like how much you should be hydrating in the day leading up, or on that, this is a 6 o'clock a.m. race start as well. So like how many hours before a race should you be starting to tip it in? And like, I guess the electrolyte tablets and stuff as well would be perfect for that.
Yeah. I mean, I think pre-race hydration, especially when you go to a hot race, is a massive psychological issue for athletes, because we all know that you can carb load in the days before. Like your carbohydrate stores can be building 2, 3, 4 days out from the race. And the more, within reason, the more you get in, the more you stock up. And carb loading properly takes quite an aggressive approach and works. It's just proven. Hydration doesn't follow the same pattern at all, because you can only have a certain amount of water in your body before your kidneys start to make you pee more. So what I see before races, and I used to be guilty of this myself, is like days before a big race, hydration becomes a mega priority for me. And I've got the big water bottle comes out. I'm always sipping on it. I'm looking at my pee every time I go to the toilet. Is it clear? Am I peeing enough? You kind of panic if your urine's yellow, and you need to like de-stress all of that, because your hydration status, you don't want to go into a race like, definitely don't want to go in dehydrated. But if you drink pretty normally, and I would say then as an insurance policy, have a little bit of extra water. What I mean by that is with your meals, have an extra glass of water. In the last couple of days, rein back on the alcohol and caffeine, which you might be doing anyway, which is going to be diuretics that will push more fluid out. And obviously tune it to the environment. Like if I'm in Kona 2 days before the race, I'm drinking a lot more anyway, just because it's hot and humid. But you don't want to be over drinking and peeing 6, 7, 8 times a day, loads of volume, because then you're actually doing yourself an injustice, and you're flushing electrolytes out, and you're rinsing too much fluid through the body. The best thing then in the last 24 hours is the night before, which is an early start, and also about an hour before the race, I would have something like about half a litre, if you're a big guy, maybe 700 millilitres of a very, very strong electrolyte drink with lots of sodium in it. So the strongest one we make is pH 1500, which has 1500 milligrams a litre. And when you take on a strong electrolyte drink like that, the sodium in the drink gets pulled into the bloodstream, it pulls more water in with it, and you get what's called plasma volume expansion, which is just a fancy way of saying that your blood volume increases. And you can measure that. And we're actually working with a PhD student at University of Bedfordshire who's studying pre-exercise hydration at the moment. And it's fascinating how much more you can see the blood volume expand when you use a lot of sodium in a drink. So you just have a bottle of that the night before, and then you have a bottle of it with your breakfast, or so you finish it about 45 minutes, an hour before the start. That helps you absorb that fluid, hold on to it, boost your blood volume, but you're not then needing to pee and pee and pee. So, and that's a technique you can practice before some of your long build-up runs, so you can get the volumes and the timing right for you as an individual.
Yeah.
And I had a question on your products. So the electrolyte capsules versus the dissolvable tablets, like when would you use one over the other?
I'd always use the tablets when I had the option. The capsules are for carrying when you're on the move. So in a marathon, in an ultra or whatever, you might not want to stop and plop tablets into water. Or the reason I say that is because if you mix them correctly into the right volume of water, you know you're getting the right ratio the whole time. Whereas with salt tablets, a lot of people don't think about the ratio. They might think, I'm going to take 3 salt tablets an hour. But if they're not drinking very much, that could be a really, really strong concentration of salts that they're getting in their stomach, can make you feel quite sick. Or you might overdrink and dilute them down. So where possible, tend to dilute them together. The only other exception to that is that some people just prefer drinking plain water. And if they do, then taking the right amount of capsules with water is an option if you don't want a flavoured drink.
Andy, final one from me, and we can cut this if the answers doesn't fit. But is Precision going to be at a stage somewhere soon where we see it as a race nutrition partner, and you can pick up gels or have the drinks on course or the mix of anything like that? Is that kind of in the highlights for the future?
We've definitely done that with a number of races already, but probably like mid-size races.
Yeah, okay.
Or a bit more in triathlon than anything else, because that was honestly, that's because that was the sport we lent into first of all. That was my background, and so there was a natural sort of leaning towards getting involved with events in that sport. We are actually really close to hopefully doing a deal to be the supplier of gels to a massive, really big famous ultra marathon in the US at the moment, which the race organisers have actually approached us out of the blue, because their partner in that area is kind of pulling out, and they asked the competitors what they wanted, and they said us. So we're sort of talking to them about that at the moment. So I think you will see that. I think the challenge for us is, although we're a decent sized company growing now, we're not a lot of these. If you want to sponsor a major marathon, for example, the volume of product that you've got to put out on course is insane. And if you look at the brands that people know that have sponsored marathons, Gatorade, people like that, they're owned by PepsiCo, so they can afford to put tens of thousands of litres of product out free of charge and whatever, and probably pay rights on top of that. We're at a point where, I'd be saying to people, for a marathon, you could rely on what's out there, but actually from our perspective and from theirs, buy you 4 or 6 gels that you need, carry them with you, and pick up water. That's the way to do it. But never say never. We'd love to hear from races or organisers or whatever that looking for some support. They've just got to understand that we're not backed by a big food or pharma company, and we can't just give you 57 inflatable arches and a million cups.
120,000 gels. Crow's got any more questions for Andy before we let him go?
Yeah, I've got one more, and we often talk about it on the podcast. So I know when I was running my best marathons back in 2018, I went through a period where I was doing a lot of depleted training, like glycogen depleted, mainly on easy runs, not for sessions. And then I read a Trent Stellingworth study where there was 3 marathoners where they did some glycogen depletion during training. But it was probably the first time that opened my eyes to how much carbs they were taking on during the race. And that was 50 to 77 grams and a lot of liquid. And I feel like that was probably the turning point where people realized, okay, I need to start taking more carbs on during a marathon. With your sports science background, do you think there's still a place for glycogen depletion in training to metabolize fats and then still, I guess, compensate on race day by taking more?
It's a really good question. And I'll first of all, I'll say, I think you've highlighted Trent Stellingworth, and I think his research is fantastic in this area. He always manages to blend the science with the reality, because he works with elite athletes and speaks a lot of common sense. I think, so when I was racing, the attitude was very much so, train a bit depleted, carb up on race day a bit more, but not even that aggressively actually, and your body will be more efficient. And honestly, when I look back, I think that never played out well for me. I think that people can do it, but I'm not sure that the theoretical gains are worth the massive risks of underfueling, getting ill, not optimizing your training. I did an interval session on Saturday where I was doing some uphill kilometer reps because I'm training for a trail race, and it's only an hour and 10, but I still had a gel in the middle of the session because I know that it helps me knock out the last 1 or 2 reps just a little bit better, and I recover faster. So I think there's very, very rarely is there a case for well-trained runners who are running hard and frequently to do fasted training. I think fasted training or fasted exercise for people who are obese, unfit, metabolically challenged, that's a whole different topic. And there may well be some really good applications for teaching the body to burn a bit more fat or become less reliant on sugar for moderating. But honestly, nowadays we just don't recommend the athletes that we work with particularly go down that route. I think the risk to reward ratio is too far in the side of risk.
It's funny you mentioned that, because I think I mentioned on last week's show that I saw a clip with the On Group over in Boulder, like Morgan McDonald. Those guys, like, they're not even marathoners, you know, they're 5K runners, but they were actually fueling during like a treadmill session. Like what is, like, has there been more research done since that trend? Because I think that one was like 2012.
Yeah, I think just generally the research is pointing in the direction of, obviously, the trade-off is if you can minimize glycogen depletion is one of the big fatigue factors with people who are training frequently, especially if you're training twice a day. And if those guys will have run, they'll probably be bashing out an interval session on a lot of days, plus a tempo run or a long steady run or whatever. So that, let's say they're doing that interval session one morning, in the afternoon, if they're bashing out 10 miles steady, the amount of pressure that puts on, like, cycling through their glycogen stores is really high. So I would imagine that energy drink or those gels or whatever are actually kind of designed to get them to the start of that 10-mile run in better shape, rather than a short-term ergogenic effect. And that's certainly what I felt. And I learned this, you know, inadvertently, just by when I became a dad, and you go out for your run on Saturday morning, you can't come home and be in the bin and lie on the couch.
Yeah.
And, you know, you're like building Lego or going to a football game, so you got to fuel. So I'm like taking a gel in the last 15 minutes of my long run, because it's like for the rest of the day, not just not just for that session. So I think they're probably, if you dig, there's probably a little bit more science emerging on that. But I just think that the trend, plus there's this been, you guys will know this, the historical precedent for marathon running and distance running and eating disorders and body dysmorphia and all those kind of things is strong. And I think there's a natural push in the other direction now to say, actually, like, let's fuel, let's teach people, let's make fueling like a positive thing, rather than this kind of, because athletes are tough. Generally, athletes are tough people. They will restrict or do hard things that feel horrible, because they believe it's kind of like a stoic thing. You believe it will make you better. You know, like, oh, I felt like death at the end of that long run, but that'll make me stronger. It's like, well,
survived.
Doesn't need to be like that all the time. Yeah, occasionally you got to push yourself really, really hard, but I don't think it needs to be artificially induced by running on fumes. I think that's a bad idea.
Yeah, mate, that's been great. I've learned heaps over the last, and it feels like the whole, as you said, the whole conversation's just changed about the way we speak about it, and because it was like what you could get away with in the past was you go out and do a 2-hour long run. It's like, I don't need a gel. I can run 2 hours at 4 minutes a K pace, and that's easy. But now it's like, no, but top up while you're going. It's going to help you for your workout in 2 days' time. Like, it must be exciting working in this industry and seeing how much it changes, and then what the future kind of holds.
Oh yeah, I reckon for me, I'm 45 now, and I wish, like a lot of athletes would say this, but I wish I had a pair of Alpha Flies 20 years ago, but I wish I had as many gels as I do now, and that sort of thing, because I think I'd have screwed things up a lot less. And I'm actually getting interested in, you know, going back and doing some of the old races that I used to do. And I know that at 45, my performance is, whatever happens, it's never going to meet where it was at 25 when I was at my fittest. But I reckon with, you know, like, I'm way better at pacing now. I train a bit more consistently and sensibly, because I don't feel the need to kick the arse out of every session. I know what I'm doing about fueling and hydration. It's like all of those things, you add them together, and actually you start to close the gap a little bit. And that's quite intriguing. I probably won't do this, but I even catch myself thinking I might go back and run a marathon and see what I can do at 45, because I did a lot of marathons and Ironman, and I did some others, but I never really felt like, I never did a straight up, decent marathon. So I could probably set a marathon PB. And I'm like, well, and I think a lot of that is just that intrigue about getting all the fueling, and hydration is a huge part of it, but it's one of those like massive building blocks that everyone thinks purely about training. It's just like do the miles, but all those other little nuanced things around it, if you can get all of those right, it all helps you execute on the day.
What was your fastest time off the bike? I reckon we've got to hold you to this. Get you on a start line somewhere and see what you can run.
So my fastest time off the bike's like just over 3. I think it was either 3:3.
You smashed that. You look pretty fit.
Like so, well, I'm going to try. I might have a go. So we'll see.
Craig's a similar age to you. You two should have a challenge.
Yeah, I'm 44 in August.
Oh, what are you going for then this year? What's your time?
Oh, I don't know. Got to get the okay from my cardiologist.
Yeah, that's another story. He's had some heart issues, Bradley. Yeah. But you ran 2:17 as a 40-year-old, didn't you? I
was 37 when I ran 2:17. I ran 2:23 at 41 and 42.
Yeah.
So we'll set up a big head-to-head. Andy versus Croaks.
Yeah.
Fly out to Sydney Marathon.
Give me 4 or 5K head start, and I might. Really, I don't think I'll be running in the 2:20s, but yeah, no, it is intriguing though, isn't it? And running is one of those things where actually, if you can hold your joints together and that sort of thing, you do gain a lot. I think from what goes on up here, in terms of learning how the races play out and stuff. It's
true. Like, because we're similar age, like my first marathon, like I took 2 gels with me and a couple of like snake lollies. Like that's all I had for the whole marathon. Like, obviously it didn't go very well.
Same here. I was wondering why I was in a world of pain at 30K.
Whereas then, like 4 years, so I was like 33 then, 37, so you should be slowing down. But then I'm hitting like 70 grams of carbs per hour and like never hit the wall at all. Felt amazing the whole run.
Yeah.
So it's definitely changed. Like even talking to the old guys, it's we used to take a little bit of sports drink, maybe some flat Coke in the last 5K. So it's certainly changed, and for the better.
Yeah, it's good. Everyone's just open to the conversations now. I feel like it's just a number. It's like, what are your PBs, but also how many grams do you do per hour in a marathon? Like
that's fully our MO. Is like we put the numbers on the front of the packets of the products, and we publish the numbers in our case studies database. And I mean, maybe Brady, we could do a case study on your Osaka Marathon and get the numbers out there, because then other people can learn from it as well. Yeah. All we need is a record of what you ate and drank in the race, and we can crunch all the numbers for you.
Yeah, that'd be good. That'd be interesting. We'll tee something up for sure. Oh, Andy, it's been great. It's been great talking to someone, and obviously that wasn't like super salesy. Like, it was all like our listeners are going to love that. Like, I think it was just real life stuff, and it's what people are doing in their training and their race preparation as well. So we really appreciate you taking some time out for us on your Monday morning, and supporting the show.
Yeah, no, thanks for giving us a chance to do it. The numbers are looking good from our side. What I spoke to Dave, our marketing guy, and he reckons that we're getting a lot of people mentioning the podcast. We've had some, since you guys have been banging on about it. I've had Aussie mates who are like, "Oh, did you hear about? These guys are talking about your stuff on the show," and so it definitely, you guys have you have a good, deep audience. So we're keen to pursue it. So if we can help with anything, let us know, and we're keen to stay involved.
Beautiful, mate.
Actually, before you go, I've just got one more question. Just about we haven't really touched on cramping, and that's sort of like I guess your expertise. And like personally, I've never suffered from it, but I know there's a lot of people out there, even people that I coach, that's like, I run really well over every distance other than the marathon, and I just cannot get on top of cramps. Is there anything you can do other than taking on electrolytes to help with cramping?
Yeah, that's the number. So when we started in the hydration space, like, cramping was the number one question for sure. And I suffered with cramping badly when I was racing, and still have a tendency to have cramps if I'm not on top of it. But there's loads of disagreement. Is it neuromuscular fatigue? Is it dehydration? Is it electrolyte imbalance? And I think the reality is there's a model been put together by a researcher in Texas, Kevin Miller, looking at this kind of multifactorial way that cramps can be diagnosed and prevented or treated. And that's the closest we've got at the moment, is that essentially cramping is a recipe that is different for everyone, and electrolyte imbalance is potentially a big component of it. Dehydration is potentially a component of it, but fatigue, muscle damage, those kind of things are also potentially components of it. There's what there isn't, where there is in, say, the neuromuscular fatigue side of things. You can study that in a lab a bit more easily than you can electrolyte imbalance, because getting ethics approval and pushing people to the point when they just cramp, it's very unpredictable. And it's also, you couldn't write an ethics application to say, well, this is what we're going to do to people, because you're talking about injuring people. So it hasn't been brilliantly studied. And it always remarked, I don't know where this famous quote comes from. There's this like famous quote around when you've got anecdote and data that disagree, like, check your data. But in the scientific world, that's frowned upon, because often people will go, well, where's your peer-reviewed studies? Where's your data? It's like, well, it's not really there around electrolyte imbalance and cramping. But we as a company are at the coalface with that, working with thousands of athletes. And we literally get tens of emails a week from people who have read our blog on cramping, followed the hydration protocols properly using stronger electrolytes, and their cramping has gone away. And you could say, I'm sitting here like I'm a bloke who sells electrolytes, so automatically I can understand why a load of people then immediately switch off and go, this guy is just trying to sell more stuff. And it's like, well, you could take that view, but trust me, I got into this because this was my problem, and I found a solution to my problem, and I'm now trying to help other people with that and having a degree of success with it. And I totally appreciate I've got a dog in the fight. I've got my own biases, but at the same time, trying following the electrolyte balance protocols that we suggest to get on top of cramping is incredibly cheap. It's very safe, and it's potentially very effective for a lot of people. So it's kind of like, well, give it a go. If you're someone who's having races and training like derailed by cramping, like, read the blog that's on our website. It lays it all out in that. Give it a go, and maybe hopefully you're one of those people that then email us 6 weeks later and go, this has changed my racing life. It might not be. It's not for everyone, and I reckon it's probably, based on our data, 70% of people it has a positive impact with, but it's got to be worth giving it a go, in my opinion.
Good one, Croaks. Thanks, Andy. We're going to start recording there, and cool. Really appreciate your time. Running news, Croaks. You were getting pretty excited about this, the ACT Track and Field Champs.
Yeah, I was. And look, I went out both Friday night and Saturday night just to watch the distance stuff, so the 800 and the 1500. And like, over the years, ACT Track and Field Champs can be real hit and miss. Like, some years you're lucky to have 2 heats of the 800 and 2 heats of the 1500. But this was like, you look at pretty much every event from the 100 through to the 15, and there was some big hitters there. Like, Tori Lewis broke the Australian record in the 100. We had Bendere Oboya there running 400s. Cat Bisset ran a 400. Like, Nicola McDermott equaled the Australian record in the high jump. So it was a quality meet. And so, men's 800 on the Friday night. Peyton Craig, remember him, Brady, from the De Castella 3K?
Yeah, I do. Yeah, when I saw his name pop up, I had to connect the dots, and I'm like, oh yeah, that's that kid.
He is a star. This guy came from a triathlon background, ran 145.77, which, traditionally triathletes are more slow twitch. That was an Australian under 20 record. So he beat Jack Lunn, 146.25, and Cam Myers was third in 147.11. In the women's, it was on 1-2. Imogen Barrett got the win in 2:02. Tess Kersop-Cole was second in 2:03, and Jayla Hancock-Cameron was third in 2:05. So that was Friday night, and then I went back out on the Saturday night. Cam Myers paced his training partner, Connor Whiteley, for like 1100. Connor went on to get the win, running 3:40. Ben Thomas was second, 3:41, and Joseph Deng, I believe, was a PB in 3:43. Imogen Barrett got the double. She won the women's 15 in 4:22. Jayla Hancock-Cameron was second in 4:22, and Rachel McCormick was third in 4:27. The women's 1500 started off like at a walk, like the 10K walk that was on that morning would have probably gone through 300 faster. They ran the first 100 and then it was literally like a jog fest until, I don't know, after 400 meters, they started to get rolling a little bit. So anyway, it was a really, really good meet. And then, my other bit of news here was the University of Washington Invitational. So Jess Hull went over for a run. She finished second in the 1K behind Nikki Hiltz. So Jess ran 2:34.71, which breaks Zoe Buckman's short track Australian record of 2:39.47. And Carly Thomas was also in action. She won the women's 800 metres in 2 minutes flat .95, breaking Shelby Houlihan's meet record.
It's good to see our stars come out for the first hit out, isn't it?
Oh, yeah.
These names. See a few more this weekend as well, I reckon, at Murakami, some of the distance guys. Ellie, you got some news?
When's World Indoors?
I think it's March.
Okay.
So it's pretty close to World Cross, I think.
It'll be interesting to see who opts to do that this year, because it's probably a tricky thing, isn't it, with the Olympics? Like, whether you try, go overseas and try and peak for that, or whether you stay here and do the domestic season, and then don't know. It'd be interesting to see.
So first to the 3rd of March. So it's not that far away.
That's a week after Osaka.
Yeah.
5 weeks.
Not that I wasn't planning on going to World Indoors. I was just wondering who
about doing a 1500 or something.
Definitely not. South Australian 5,000 metre champs were on. So Jacob Cox got the win in 14:06. Luke Mitchell second, 14:29. Fraser Darcy third, 14:29.7. And Tiana Cheta, she was first in the women's 5,000, 16:35. Zoe Toland second in 16:37, and Elodie DeWitt was third in 17:06, but in a different race. Is that...
Yeah. So they had it sort of just on seed times and had mixed races. So the race that Jacob Cox was in was all male, but then the next race had some females, which I'm assuming was the top female in that was the fastest female for the night. And there was only two women that finished in that race. And then Elodie was in the next race and had the third fastest time. I think that's right from the results that I saw.
Maybe they didn't have enough for a women's only race.
Yeah. But I was surprised, someone like Caitlin didn't have a run. Not sure.
Yeah. I saw Caitlin last weekend and she was talking about this, but there was a reason why she wasn't doing it. I think she's doing Maury Plant maybe and some of the other races, so she was going to sit that one out. Yeah. Osaka Women's Marathon happened yesterday as well. So, this was quite interesting. Ethiopia's Worknesh Adessa won in a course record of 2:18.51. So they went through half in 69.46 and then did a negative split for 69.05. And she was ahead of Japan's Hanami Maeda in 2:18.59. So she broke the Japanese and Asian record, improving on the 2:19.12 set by 2004 Olympic marathon champion Mizuki Noguchi in the Berlin Marathon in 2005. So this makes the Japanese Olympic team very interesting because Maeda actually, she was in the team for Tokyo, but she at their trials finished 6th or 7th or something. So the top 2 get automatically selected, and then the third spot comes down to sort of who runs the fastest, and that can be the person that came third in the trials or it can be somebody else. So originally the third fastest time going in was 2:21 high, and then she's come out and broken the Japanese record. So now the last race I think is Nagoya. So I was talking to Sinead about this yesterday. So originally they would have been going into Nagoya thinking they had to run faster than 2:21 high, and now it's going to be they basically have to try and break the Japanese record, which Sinead's pacing. So that'll be interesting. So it makes it a bit exciting. But I think, I don't know. I think a few people have had a crack at that record over the last few years and no one's been able to get it. So impressive run by her.
Good info from you, Ellie.
Yeah, that's good.
I'm
Good
glad I gave you that one.
You and Sinead working on that research?
Well, because I know some of the Japanese runners, because I've done a lot of races over there. I've raced against her quite a few times. So, I like following what's going on there. They've got so much talent.
There can't be too many national records still standing for the marathon since 2005 either. It would have been a long one.
Yeah, you wouldn't think so.
Yeah, that's good. Perfectly paced too. Is it the same course that we ran on in Osaka?
No, it's different. It starts. I actually paced it a few years ago. It starts and finishes in a stadium.
Oh yeah.
I think there are some similar parts. Like you run down through the main part of the city. I can't remember what it's called, and like some of the sections are similar but different. Because I think we finish and start at the castle, don't we?
Yep, we do.
Yeah. No, so this one's a little bit different, but it's one of the big women's only races in Japan.
Let me take you guys to the indoor track, the BU John Thomas Terrier Classic, which is 5,000 metres. They did 2 heats, but they split them into like almost 2 even heats, which I thought was weird. Didn't go A and B. I think they named them after different colours. 5 people across 2 of the races were breaking. They broke 13 minutes, but I reckon there was more croaks with the their seed times. Like there was like 4 sub-13 guys in one race and then 3 in the other one. It was really weird the way they seeded it. I couldn't work it out. Edwin Kurgat got the win. He ran... Oh, no, sorry. These are all the people that broke 13 minutes.
That's
Edward
right,
Kurgat,
yep.
George Mills, Adrian Waldschut, Nico Young. That was an NCAA record as well. And the Brit, Sam Atkin. There were 11 Olympic qualifiers throughout the day. Geordie Beamish, he ran 13:04.3, which was a New Zealand record and Olympic qualifier. Morgan McDonald just missed it, so he's got to run 13:05. He ran 13:07. Kai Robinson ran 13:21, so I reckon he'd be a bit disappointed with that because he ran 13:06. Or was it 13:05, Croaks, not so long ago?
I think it was 13:06.
Just missed the time as well. Andrew Corskren was in action as well, the Zadapec winner. He ran 13:12, which I reckon was an Irish indoor... Well, they call it short track now, don't they? Not indoor, which... You don't want to start calling it short track. Why don't they just leave it as indoor? So, the fast times were happening. And then, hopefully Morgan can get that time in the next one he does. The women's 5K, this was won by the under-20 cross-country champion, Seni Yetigetuchu. She got the win in a time of 14:42. And Aussie, Lauren Ryan, who won Zadapec, she was 9th. She ran 15:15, which is a new short track Australian record, breaking Heidi C's time of 15:25. So they can run qualifiers, but the records are separate. Is that correct?
What do you mean?
So they can run, so say that the Olympic qualifying time's 13:05. It doesn't matter if you do it on an indoor or outdoor track. But then, like, Lauren Ryan sets this Australian record of 15:15, whereas Jessica Hull's got it with, is it 14:46?
Oh, yeah. So,
separate records, but you can still use these to qualify.
That's right, yeah.
Yeah.
I wonder if there are many indoor records that are faster than outdoor. You wouldn't think so.
No.
Like, surely... it's funny, they all go here to try and knock the qualifiers off because this BU track's obviously really fast, but... It doesn't seem like, very often people run faster indoor than they do outdoor.
It's probably only that Boston track where I reckon some people's like PBs are set on that track, but like compared to their outdoor ones. And that's why it'd be interesting to see like if Morgan went and ran an outdoor 5K next week, whether he'd run 13:07. We'll see how close he'd get to 13:07. Because there's something about that track. Like people go there and just run super quick.
Yeah. It would have been good for him to get it, so he could have just had it and just, he always gets injured and stuff. Just being like, just get the time early, don't have to chase races.
I'd love to do an indoor race. Like, because how many times have you gone to like track races and the weather has just been shit house? Whereas almost just takes that out of the equation.
Yeah.
So you get perfect conditions.
They always pace good too, these ones. There's time trials.
The only downside is it's so many laps.
Yeah.
Like it's always like 25 laps for a 5K.
Some quick, Some quick drug news, Croaks, and then we might jump to the back end of the show before Andy's coming in.
Yep. So the Athletics Integrity Unit has banned Prisha Chesang of Uganda for 2 years from the 6th of December last year for the presence or use of furosemide, which is a diuretic. So her results from the 14th of September have been disqualified, including from the World Road Running Championship. So you may remember this name because we were chatting about her last year. So she finished 7th at World Cross. So Ellie, you can probably move up a spot.
That's actually the second. That's the second person from that World Cross race that's been done.
Oh, we'll move up 2 spots.
7th, well done.
She finished 2nd at the Maury Plant 3K, and she won the Run the Bridge race last year. So,
yeah, right.
I remember her.
She won all the prizes. She won.
Yeah.
She beat the men as well, so she won like
10 grand or something.
Whatever it was. Yeah.
Yeah, and then the other bit of drug news was the Spanish anti-doping agency banned a couple of guys, including Hamid Ben Daoud, who was the former Spanish marathon record holder, having run 2:06:35. So, we've probably gone about a month without some drug news. So, yeah, about time we added a little bit in there. So that's it.
Good. Hopefully they pop as many people as possible before the Olympics.
Yeah, true. I've got a big one coming, but I can't say it yet. But
oh, really?
Yeah. I'll tell you.
Which country?
No, I'll give it away. If I tell you which country, you'll know straight away who's told me.
Okay.
But yeah, we might see what happens the next couple of weeks.
Norway.
Norwegian. Don't know a name yet, but I know there's a big fish in one of those countries that's ready to pop. Listen to question, Croaks.
Yeah, let's do a quick and fun one. If you were to go on training camp anywhere in Australia, where would it be? And that comes in from, is that Ewan Smith?
98, Ewan Smith. Falls Creek's the obvious answer, isn't it?
Nah, I don't know. Nah.
Surf Coast, pretty good down there, Croaks. Went for a 48-hour one.
Yeah.
Surf Coast in summer, not winter. Winter is shit. Summer is great.
Yeah, I think winter's an interesting one. I reckon you've got to go definitely like north of the country for like a winter training camp. But I don't know. Like I get when you go for a training camp, you want to have like no distractions, but they're obviously so bored in Falls Creek at the moment because all I see is just photos of their training or videos of their training. But for me, I think it would be the South Coast, but in particular around Bateman's Bay. Like mainly because when I'm down there, it's like if you want hilly long runs, tick. They've got so many of them. If you want to do flat, fast sessions on, pretty like good roads, not a lot of traffic. Like Ellie, like we did miles down there and Surfside, like nice flat road. You got that. You've got places for hilly tempos. Plus, you've just got some stuff to do down there. Like nothing wrong with going to the beach in between training. So that would be, I reckon I'd happily train down there.
Yeah, I found it. So
I didn't like it.
Lived out there for 6 months. Yeah, I didn't like running there. I found it hard to find places to do long runs, but maybe I just didn't know where to go.
Yeah, there's a heap. There's like 3 really good options where it's like all fire roads, no road, like hardly any traffic, and heaps of hills. Like
there's no tracks. There's no track.
Yeah, that's a downside. That is, that's a good point.
And I used to get abused, but like running on the road, I used to get people throw stuff at me and yell at me, and I found it wasn't a very it might be a little bit different now, but seeing as running is actually popular now, but I felt like it wasn't it was frowned upon to run, basically.
Like I compare it though to like we used to regularly go to Noosa for training camps when I was living in Sydney, and like I hate running up there.
Too hot up there. Can't get anywhere higher than Sydney.
Noosa, when we did a training camp there in winter, and it was good, but it wasn't. There was a lot of concrete, and it was hard to find good trails. But they have, like if you drive out into the hinterland, there's really good places to do long runs and stuff. It was just,
Bendere's pretty good. Coast. Works for Rose Davies when she wants to go well. She's about the only person that's ever used Bendere as a training camp. It's got access to hills, tracks, Not bad weather.
I don't leave home very often, so
Yeah.
it's probably hard for me to answer this. So it's pretty much home to Mulligan's and back.
Hey, you bring up a good point, though, about Falls Creek. This is a note I had down for a bit further about Brady on the loose. Like, is there a rule that you have to take 15 photos every time you go for a run up there? Because all I'm seeing on social media is videos, photos. Like, it's just incredible, isn't it? Which made me think today, like, where are you guys at with social media and what you consume? Because I'm feeling it's, like, oversaturated. And some people put so much stuff up. I'm just like... yeah, I'm not going to check that because I know exactly what it is. Whereas then you got some athletes like, say Sinead Diver, for example, she uploads a story and you almost got to like, you get calm, you sit down, you open it up with like your full attention because it's so rare that she puts something up and you know it's going to be pretty good. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, but you probably, is your feed just full of runners? Like that's all you have?
Oh, inside running one, yeah. Yeah, just that's all it's got.
Okay.
Just all
About
runners.
your personal one?
That's what I'm talking about. No, I don't use Instagram much personal unless for book stuff, Croaks. So I'm probably just like, annoying people with my book content.
I think the problem with Falls at the moment is you've got a couple of like professional sort of videographers or photographers up there,
so
they take photos and they tag everybody in, and so then all the people that you follow are the ones that have been tagged in, and they reshare it.
Yeah, that's true. So then you're seeing the same photo 10 times.
Yeah.
I actually quite like seeing the photos of people's training camps though.
Well,
like some of the scenery at Falls is pretty cool at times.
It was good when you
got to say that, Ellie. You got too many friends up there.
No, but I actually I enjoy videos and photos of training in beautiful places. I much prefer than I don't know,
Can you
nothing...
overdo it though? Like,
well,
you know what I mean?
yeah, when you see the same thing 20 times.
Yeah.
Yes.
Don't know if you need photos of like easy runs and stuff. Maybe I'm just getting old, grumpy. Things getting to me too easy, Croaks.
Yeah. Well, I guess it's like, for some of them, that's their like place of work. So, it'd be like you putting up photos of you on yard duty on Instagram.
Yeah.
I think it's illegal actually to do that when you're on yard duty. But no one wants to see that. There's no way I'd be doing that. No, but I was thinking of it from like a branding point of view. So like, if brand X is like, how good's this? Our athlete puts up 10 photos a day. But then consumer Y is me and I'm going, mate, I'm skipping all those videos because I know exactly what they're going to be. Mm. Whereas if it's someone like, someone who like only puts up stuff that you're actually going to pay attention to, then you get the engagement.
Quality over quantity.
Maybe it's that, Crux.
Yeah.
And maybe it's just that there's the quantity of like photographers and videographers and all that is just so high now that like it's just so readily available.
Yeah, there is a lot more of it, isn't it?
Yeah, so it's they don't want to share their work and stuff, so it's like, yeah.
I just like scenery. I'm all about scenic running photos. Great. I don't want to see someone videoing their feet jogging on a concrete footpath.
What about the drone footage and stuff? They got it up there. It's like a Netflix
the
documentary.
drone. See, I quite like that.
Yeah, that's
stuff.
cool. Yeah, that's good.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But, I guess it's what you're interested in.
Exactly right. What floats your boat?
It's like before you have kids, you're like, I do not want to see any photos of anyone's kids.
Oh, yeah.
Ever.
And now it's like, how cute are that kid's pajamas?
Yeah.
That's spot on. So that's good. We've got some whispers for you, Croaks. Got, hey, Sinead Diver, Australian record this Sunday, Marigami. Heard it here on Monday night. She's going to run quicker than 67.48. Got any news for me about that, Ellie? You backing me? You want to slab on it?
I don't want to bet. No, I'm not betting against her because I reckon she will too.
Yeah, that's coming.
I'm on your team there.
Strong race in her Ballarat Marathon prep. That'd be good.
She's not doing Ballarat Marathon.
Is that confirmed?
Ellie will take the case on that part.
Jeez. The listeners really let me down there. I heard a whisper as well, Croaks.
I don't know. I reckon it must be someone else.
I just screenshot the email and sent it to the boys the other day. They're like, someone is pulling your leg and they wanted you to read that out on air and then they're joking with their mates. And I'm like, no, I trusted that one. Lee Troop moving back to Australia as well, Croaks, coming back from Boulder. Moving back to Geelong. He's got the Troop Loop down there named after him. So I'm just putting two and two together. I reckon he's going to be the new director of coaching at the Geelong Region Cross Country team after their disappointing 6th finish in season 2023. So just wait and see what happens there with the big dog coming back into Geelong.
You reckon Gunther's getting punted?
Lift the Sanders. No, he'll go to assistant director of coaching.
I like that.
I like that whisper from you, Brady, because
Just putting two and two together.
I want to know Moose's response.
Disappointing result. So the King comes back in town to straighten things up a bit.
Do you reckon, imagine Jules and Troopy, do you reckon, how do you reckon those two personalities would go?
I'd
like together in a team.
There.
I'd like to see some Instagram of that. I'd like to see some videos.
Yeah, just keep an eye out for that one. So that's about it. That's about
the
all.
Pussycats, we don't need a
you don't need
new
that.
director of coaching. We're getting put up to Divi 1 now.
Yeah, just let your legs do the talking. Yeah,
You'll be
doesn't want you to get
competitive in
relegated.
You'll be competitive too, Ellie.
Yeah, we were doing a bit of analysis last season to see how we'd go in Div 1 if we had, because you know how it's 5 runners instead of 4 and all those things, and we'll do okay. Yeah, we've got to we've got to start recruiting now.
Depends if Ali goes to the Olympics or not, Croaks, and misses half the season. That might have a bit of an impact.
Any whisper that Sinead might join Geelong?
Oh, we've been trying hard to recruit Sinead. We've been trying really hard for the last couple of years. I'll keep working on it. I think she might have a bit of a busy year this year with Paris and training camps and things, but maybe 2025.
2025. Some long-term plans. Who else is in action? Marigami. You got Charlotte Purdue there as well. Brett Robinson. Any other Australians? Is Jack? Don't think so.
I don't think so.
No.
We did read him out in last week's, maybe the episode before. If you want to desperately go back, there'll be a link as well. Japan Running News. I reckon they'll have a list.
Sandra Moen.
Sandra Moen, our friend in Norway. Yeah, he's having a run. US Olympic
trials.
It's
always hard to find a stream for Marigami too. I don't know if there is one, or I remember I've never been able to get it.
Yeah, it's always dodgy, isn't it? US Olympic trials though, 3rd of Feb. Yeah. What's that, Sunday our time?
Saturday.
It's gonna be
Sunday morning.
It's going to be like early Sunday morning, like 1 a.m. or something.
Too early to get up.
This is a cool event.
Yeah, this is going to be big. Lindsay Flanagan, we said her last week, jump on. Runners World, writing articles on her last week too after the show. People passed those on to me, which was good.
I ran with Lindsay last weekend when I was in Adelaide.
She fit? 220k weeks, I heard.
She's fit, yeah 200. Yeah. She's been doing heat training on top of training in Adelaide, which is hot as hell. And yeah, big workouts, going really well, I think.
She's a gutsy runner too, like really knows how to hurt herself.
Have you guys got any more tips?
I think she wants it to be hot, because you know how she did really well at Budapest? She came 9th, I think. So I think she's hoping that it's, as hot as it can be, basically. I think that she reckons that they're going to go out fast as well. If it's good conditions, she thinks that the lead pack will go really fast, like sub 220 pace.
Yep.
So it'll be interesting to watch.
Wake up to that news Sunday morning. Sunday morning as well, Croaks. Road to Osaka Marathon session. Ooh. It's happening. Albert Park. Here's all the details. Thanks to Mizuno for putting all these details together. I'm just reading them out. They're doing some big work behind the scenes. 6:30 a.m. bottle drop, nutrition, the table setup. So that's when we're going to meet. 6:45 the warm-up starts, and at 7:15 the workout starts. The workout from Moose is 8k, 6k, 4k, 2k, with 2k float, 1.5k float, 1k float between. There's going to be different options for like workouts and stuff. So that's the one Moose is doing. Some people are doing that, some people aren't. Some people just coming to do their long run. Some people are just going to be on the side of the road, opening up Instagram, hopefully, get a few videos of us after I've just slagged off that before. The location, Albert Road Drive. The drive is close to traffic at one end, so traffic should be limited. The drive is next to the warm-up track at Lakeside Stadium. There is a toilet block nearby too. Runners are best to park in the service lane car park, perpendicular to Albert Road, and walk across to Albert Road Drive. This will be on our socials as well. So if you're out running at the moment and can't listen to me while I'm saying this, this will be all in our social media. There'll be a whiteboard there. So on arrival, head to the Mizuno van area and register your interest in a specific session pace, so you can give yourself an idea of who you'll be running with. For example, there might be something written there saying 5k reps at 320 pace or 4k reps at 430 pace, or some people might just be jogging, so you can add your name to a certain one there. The wear test, there's going to be the Rebellion Pro 2 and the Flash 2. alongside a daily trainer that will be there as well. So if you just want a jog and shoe, this gives runners opportunity to try and mix out the options. Get there quick though, because the amount of pairs will be pretty limited. So if you want to get there a bit earlier, to make sure you can get your size and stuff like that as well. Precision Fuel and Hydration will be hooking us up with a mix of gels, chews and drink mix sachets. Please be conscious of how much you take to ensure everyone in attendance can make sure they've got some. Water bottle tables, I've spoken about that. You need to register. There's a link in our Instagram bio. We'll put it on Facebook and stuff as well, just to register. So we've got, I think it's for insurance purposes. We know who's at the location. And then, we'll do some a bit of a briefing before we start, and then be a place where you can keep your belongings so you don't have to keep going back and forth to your car. A massive thank you to these guys for organising this. They're very thorough, and it should be good. I think close to 60 people have registered already, Brad, so it should be good.
Wow.
Good initiative.
Are you going, Brady?
Yeah, I'm going.
Moose session?
Yeah, as long as my knee's all good, which I'm 95% confident. Yeah, Moose and I are staying down there, Brad. Moose has organised an accommodation, so just keep an eye on the inside running card tomorrow morning, I reckon, because he's got expensive taste, and something will be coming through on that card. Yeah, I'll be on. You going to go, Ellie? You're not sure what you're doing?
Yeah. No, I'm going, apparently.
Oh, you're
I
going?
got told I'm going.
Good.
Yeah.
I got told Moose was trying to talk you into it and wasn't sure where he was at with that, so that's good.
Yeah.
From 60 to 100.
150, I reckon.
I haven't registered, though. I have to register. Will and Kieran, who I train with, they're going to do it as well. So.
So good.
Yeah.
Are you going to do the same workout from Moose? Is that the first time you've heard that workout?
Yeah. No, I actually did. He did say last weekend that we were doing this, so yeah, we'll do the same.
Brady, don't do your Osaka race on Sunday.
I was going to say, do you think people are rocking out? Like, it'd be like taking a ticket at the Deli Croaks. It's like, I took Moose down to work out last week. Someone else is like, I'm rocking up and destroying Moose this week.
Yeah.
That last 2K is going to get rolling, and I'm not the guy to get it rolling. I'm just going to be, wherever Moose is, I'm going to be 2 steps behind him the whole workout.
I'm not sure how Moose is going to go with this, when you might just have a few punters there just to run with him and just half step him for even the first 8K rep.
Yeah. Yeah, imagine if you just like, hey, I just want to do an 8K, or just do a 5K time trial and go the first 5K in front of Moose of that 8K rep.
Just run beside him and just heckle the shit out of him.
Yeah, if you want to break 16:30 for 5K, just come and run the first 5K of that 8K. And just get into him the whole way. You think the bickering was bad with just me and him? Imagine him with 30 people in the pack.
Yeah, he's like,
oh God, I'm nervous.
Cut this.
It's going to be so much fun. So yeah, looking forward to that, getting down there and seeing some people on the ground. And then but really there's no elitism about this. If you want to come down for a jog, if you want to be there for half the session, if you want to do your own session, if you want to just warm up with some different people, that's the place to do it. Albert Park from 6:30am this Sunday morning, which is the 3rd of Feb. 3rd? 2nd? 4th. US trials are the 3rd. Yeah. What's coming up, Croaks?
6:30. I'm going to have to leave really early.
Nah, Moose is shouting accommodation. Come down Saturday night.
Oh, yeah.
Running company Geelong.
Put it on.
Cover everyone's accommodation.
Yeah.
5-star hotel on the park.
Sounds good, doesn't it? Someone's paying for it. As long as it's not us, Ali, we'll be right. What are you doing between now and Sunday morning then, Ali, when we see you next?
Session Wednesday, which is unknown because we don't know until we get there. And then, just running. Just twice a day, every day, heat stuff. And, no other plans.
Good. Bradley, what do you got coming up?
Not much this week. Like Lily starts kindy tomorrow, so I'm going to have a few just kid-free days until my work starts back. So, not a great deal for me.
Oh, awesome. That's good for you. Put some training together.
Yeah.
Rightio. Enjoyed this episode, legends. Thanks for tuning in. We really appreciate that you chose our podcast to listen to, and we'll do it all again next week. Road to Osaka may come out a bit earlier this week as well, because they'll be promoting the Sunday workout. So we might put that out like Thursday, Friday. If you're not on Patreon, they'll get it Tuesday. So keep an eye out for that. Big guest coming in that as well, I think.
I was just going to say, good luck for Osaka, Ellie. I don't think you'll be back on between now and then.
Isn't she?
Thanks, Brad.
We got her for one more episode booked, haven't we?
No, I thought she was coming in for the post race.
Okay.
No, I think that you couldn't get someone for a couple of weeks, so I might be back.
No, she's back.
Oh,
she's
that's
back,
good.
Craigs. You'll hear it once more before
Yeah.
Osaka.
I wish you luck then.
Yeah, that'll be taper time. So I've got to get to that point, and then I'm out of the danger zone. Hopefully.
That's it. Yep. All right. See you guys. Thanks again for Ellie for filling in.
Thanks,
No
Ellie.
worries. See you guys.
Yeah.
As you're listening to this show, you're probably training for a race. But how dialed in is your race nutrition? Precision Fuel and Hydration has a free online planner that you can use to work out how much carbs, sodium, and fluid you need to perform at your best. Then they have a range of fuel and electrolyte products to make it real easy to hit your numbers. Brady regularly uses their resealable 90-gram gels on his longer runs, and the boys training for Osaka are working with their sports science team to dial in their strategies for race day. They also work with a long list of top runners, including four-time Olympian Lisa Waitman, Hayden Hawkes, and regular guest on the show, Izzy Bat Doyle. Click the link in the show notes to use the planner to personalise your strategy for your next race. Then use the code INSIDE to get 15% off your first order of fuel and electrolytes and help support the show. Patreons can get 20% off using the code shared in our Patreon-only shows. Shop now at precisionhydration.com.